Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to go over a topic that I think one of you guys, maybe a couple of you guys, brought up in the comment section. And this is more of an observation video based on what I'm kind of seeing, and I want your input as well. A lot of people are kind of mentioning that a lot of intelligent men are single. And I actually have seen this too. I'm not saying if you're single, it's a bad thing. I'm also not saying if you're in a relationship that you're not intelligent. I want to preface again, I am in a relationship, so I understand that my perception might be biased because I am not single at this time, okay? Also, I'm a female, so there are a lot of these dynamics as well. So I understand my perspective is not going to fit to everybody's perspective, okay? Also, I don't think this applies in every case. My partner, I think he's very intelligent and he is not single. So just sharing those things, getting that out of the way, and then we're going to jump in. I think one of the main reasons, the first one, why a lot of intelligent men are single is because he doesn't necessarily fall for her games or like manipulation or something like that. And so he's more likely to get out of relationships that do not serve him because of those things. So it's not necessarily that he is not able to get a relationship. It's more that he's able to exit out of unhealthy relationships because he notices those things a little bit quicker. Okay, so he doesn't fall for the manipulation or the tricks or the whatever is going on. And so, unlike maybe another person, not wrong or right. And so, it's hard for him to stay in a relationship where he's out. For him, it's very obvious he can see these dynamics, if that makes sense. And so, he might actually struggle to be fulfilled because he's not able to ignore that necessarily. The next one I think is really common, and I do see it more common with men who I perceive as more intelligent, is they actually challenge their partner's spending habits, okay? And some females do not like this, but a lot of males, I think, I've noticed, are grown up in a direction where they value budgeting a little bit more. Maybe that's not true, but I've always felt like it's true. I don't know. Which is good. I think that's a good thing. I like budgeting, so that's a really cool trait. But a lot of times he may challenge her spending habits, to which she may take that as an insult, or she may not be able to provide in that direction. She might not know how to conform to those spending habits, into which she might break up with him, or she might create problems or whatever it is, to which that relationship cannot last, to which he again ends up in a perspective or position where he's single because he didn't say, hey, you can spend all my money, or you can spend our money. Let's say they're married, whatever it is. And it creates issues. And he's going to fix those issues instead of let them continuously deteriorate the relationship, to which he just tackles it sooner, more so. Okay. The next one I really feel is probably one of they're all so common, but I don't know. I noticed this one is actually a lot of intelligent men, I feel like, take their time to commit to make sure she is compatible, which what I've noticed a lot of advice, I'm not even making advice, I'm just sharing my perspective, okay? I notice a lot of advice for ladies, I think, I'm not sure, is like, if he doesn't commit right away, that means he's never going to commit. Have you guys ever heard that? I swear I've heard that before. And I don't think that's true. Like, I just don't. I think that a lot of men, especially if he's intelligent, he takes his time because he could lose a lot, right? Even in terms of a marriage, he can lose financially. We were just talking about financial habits, but just in general, he could lose lots of things, rights to his kids, whatever it may be. And so he takes those things in account because he's intelligent, and he's trying to make sure if she's compatible and worthy of him to take that risk to commit. And so I actually think intelligent men take time to commit, and sometimes that can be off-putting to females who do not see that as a good trait, because I think it's a good trait, but some people don't, and I think everybody's different, but that may be off-putting to some folks. I don't know, but that was my perspective, okay? The next one that I think makes a lot of sense, at least from my perspective, is he holds her accountable. And sometimes people are so willing to be in a relationship that they might not hold their partner accountable because they're afraid to lose her. And so a man who feels that he's quite intelligent and he's comfortable with himself, he might actually hold her accountable because he's happy being himself, but he also wants to be with her, not because he needs to be with her, because he wants to. And in that way, he wants change for her, better change for himself, better change for her. He has expectations. And so he actually holds her accountable to those expectations. And some people, regardless of gender, don't like to be held accountable. And so that might put some ladies off. And in that way, again, he is finding himself single. And that might be a beneficial perspective, because he might find somebody who's more right for him. These strategies, I'm not saying is a bad thing. The next one I think is also common. I believe a lot of intelligent men, I'm not all of them, everyone's different, tend to be career focused. And sometimes a woman might think that by you being career focused, it means that you won't spend enough time with her. And I think that can be a little confusing, because I don't think it depends. Career and relationships, I don't think they necessarily need to compete for time. They're just in different spots of time or of the day, right? There's certain things that you cannot compromise with your career, because then you won't have a job or food or whatever it is. But it's a little easier to compromise with a girlfriend or a wife. It should be, right? And so you can't text her while you're working. Some jobs you can't. Or you might have to go on business trips. And so it can be helpful to find a partner who understands that, but also understanding that you can balance the two. If there's some things that you don't necessarily have to do with your career, at least right away, you can manage that time with her. I think it's just a balance. And some people know that, but a lot of people don't, which is why this could be off-putting to some potential partners, okay? The next one I think is intelligent men tend to be independent. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And usually that means he's fine with being alone, meaning he doesn't necessarily need to be in a relationship. I think that he's okay with being single is kind of the way I'm putting it. I think that a lot of times in this particular space or this environment is that a lot of people are pressuring or perceiving men who are single, even when they're older. Like, let's say you're single and you're 45. A lot of people may perceive those types of men as perhaps even abnormal or a failure. And that can create a lot of men to be afraid to be put in that light. But individuals who are intelligent, they might recognize that who he is not necessarily based on someone's judgment. He doesn't take that in. And so he's fine with taking his time to pick the right partner or being by himself for whatever reason. And that's actually kind of similar to all the points I brought up. But the next one, or the last one, is like I'd mentioned, he takes time to commit, but I think he also takes time to be ready for commitment in marriage, right? So not even just taking time to commit within the relationship, but just taking time to even decide he's ready to let somebody in. I think a lot of intelligent men do this because they're not necessarily wanting a relationship unless it adds to him as an asset or as something that is a variable that benefits him. And so he's going to find out if all his other variables are his ducks are in a row before he finds himself in a position to even entertain relationships. That's my perspective. I'm sure there are plenty of other reasons, and I probably got some of these wrong as well. So what is your perspective? Let me know how you guys feel. I hope this video is helpful. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.